All right, if you've got exams on your mind, you're going to want to pay close attention. Today, we're diving into a really important NITI Aayog paper that maps out India's R&D strategy. And this is a big deal, because we're not just talking about policy here. We're talking about the potential blueprint for India's entire technological future.
So the big question is, right, how does India level up and become a global tech superpower? Well, to figure that out, sometimes you've got to look at what the competition is doing. And in this case, we're going to break down the playbook of its biggest rival by looking at China's Made in China 2025 plan. There are some huge lessons in there for India.
Okay, first things first, let's get into China's R&D master plan. And honestly, this thing is a masterclass in how to run a coordinated industrial policy. You really have to get your head around this to see where India needs to go.
Okay, get ready for this number. $496 billion. That's not their total spend. That's what China poured into R&D in just 1 year, 2024. I mean, that's not just a line item on a budget, right? That's a massive statement. It's them saying, we are going all in on tech independence. Now, this chart shows something super important, a key concept you need to know, R&D intensity. It's basically what slice of your entire economic pie, your GDP, you're spending on research and development, and wow, does it tell a story. Look at this gap. China's at 2.68%. India? Around 0.7%. That single comparison right there tells you almost everything you need to know about the difference in national priorities. So yeah, make a note of that term for your exams, R&D intensity. This is the metric. It's what you'll use to compare how innovative different countries are, to back up your policy recommendations. Seriously, knowing this term is like having the key to unlock a whole level of strategic analysis. But here's the thing. China didn't just spray money everywhere and hope for the best. Nope. They were incredibly strategic, almost surgical. They picked 10 priority industries to focus on, and the results have been, well, staggering. We're talking about them totally dominating in things like electric vehicles. I mean, BYD actually outsold Tesla. And then their solar panels, they control something like 95% of the entire global market. That's what focus gets you. So you're probably asking, okay, how on earth did they pull that off? The secret sauce, and this is another key concept for your notes, is something called the triple helix model. Think of it like a 3-part engine that just runs like crazy. You've got universities doing the cutting-edge research. Then you've got the big state-owned companies that can manufacture at a massive scale. And finally, you have the private companies that innovate and bring it all to the market. These 3 working together create this incredible feedback loop that turns lab ideas into actual products super, super fast. All right, so we've talked about the money and the strategy, but what did it actually get them? Let's look at a timeline of the results. This really shows some of their biggest tech breakthroughs, and just look how recent they are. I mean, just look at this. The sheer speed and the range of things is mind-blowing. 1 minute, it's commercializing new sodium-ion batteries. The next, it's quantum communication from a satellite. They've got a fully working space station up there, and they even brought back samples from the far side of the moon. This is exactly what it looks like when a focused R&D plan pays off across multiple, different fields all at once. Okay, so now it's time to bring it back home. Let's turn the mirror on India and do a direct data-driven comparison. This is where we'll see the R&D gap that the NITI Aayog paper is really flagging as a major issue that needs to be fixed. And fast. This table right here, you'll want to screenshot this for your revision notes. It lays everything out so clearly. Just look at the contrast on every single point. The total spending, of course, but also look at who is doing the spending. In China, it's more and more private companies taking the lead. In India, it's still mostly the government. And that difference between a focused strategy versus a more spread out one, well, you see the result right there in the patent numbers. It's not even close. And this really gets to the core of it, the fundamental difference in philosophy. You could say China's approach is like a targeted missile strike, aimed at clear commercial wins in specific sectors. India's, on the other hand, has been more like a shotgun blast, more spread out, with a lot of focus on basic foundational research. Now, that's not a bad thing in itself, but it has created this big gap between the lab and the factory, which means we're seeing fewer big commercial successes.
So, where do we go from here? What's the path forward? Now that we've seen the gap, let's look at the solution. This next part is all about an actionable roadmap for India, pulling the key lessons straight from China's playbook, as laid out in the NITI Aayog paper.
And this quote from the paper itself really just nails it. It says success isn't just about having a great plan. It's about disciplined execution, That's the whole game. It's not enough to have a vision. You've got to turn that vision into concrete action.
Okay, exam takers, this is for you. To make all these recommendations stick in your head, we've got a great little mnemonic. First A. It's super easy to remember. F is for focus. Pick those high-impact sectors. I is for investment. You got to put serious money behind it. R is for a robust ecosystem. That's our triple helix model again. S is for strategy, a long-term vision that doesn't change every few years. T is for tracking, keeping a close eye on patents and progress. And finally, the all-important A for accountability, setting up a national task force to make sure it all gets done. See? First A. It's a perfect framework to structure your answers.
All right, let's pull everything together into one final, super important slide. If you're cramming and can only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it what's on this screen. This is basically your cheat sheet for the exam. Here we go. The key facts you need to know. That killer data point, China's R&D intensity at 2.68% versus India's 0.7%. The core concept, that triple helix model. The perfect case studies to use as examples, China's 95% market share in solar and BYD overtaking Tesla. The big policy takeaway, the need for a national industrial strategy task force. And of course, your secret weapon for writing great answers, the first A mnemonic. You drop these points in your exam and you're going to sound like you really know your stuff.
And that's a wrap on our breakdown, but I want to leave you with one final thought, a really big question to chew on. After everything we've just gone through, if you had to pick one single strategic sector for India to pour its first A strategy into, what would it be? Where could India truly become a world leader by 2035? Something to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.